This meeting is being recorded.
Hey there, good afternoon. This is Mike Johnson. I'm going to be your pre-sales consultant and tour guide this afternoon. Thanks a lot for your patience. Everybody keep in mind that you are all muted throughout the entirety of the presentation so you can hear me, but I won't be able to hear you. If you have any questions at any point in time, please post those questions in the chat facility at the bottom right hand of WebEx. If I happen to be able to catch them mid-presentation, I'll try to get an answer out there. Won't say I'm the best multitasker, so I'll probably get them more at the end, but I'll read the question back and provide an answer. I'm going to try to blow through some slides pretty quick here. I do have an awful lot of stuff that I want to cover and touch on. It's probably going to be fairly high level. My audience is typically a mix of folks who were on the previous generation of Trackit, which is version 11X and earlier. We're going to be taking a look at the new Trackit, the new code set, the 2000.xx, started with 2017 in beta, and pretty much stayed in beta for the 2017 version, then 2018 last year, 2019, and very shortly the 2020 versions will start to be available. But we're going to take a look at all of it and what it could all do and what it can do for you today. Again, no integrated audio with this presentation. You would know that if you're not on the audio because you wouldn't be hearing me. So again, I'm going to try to blow through these slides pretty quick. First, just a little bit real quick about BMC software. There are multiple IT service management products within the BMC software family. Trackit is what we're looking at today. We have a couple of our competitors and similar applications there. Trackit typically, and this is a bit of an artificial look. When we have a conversation with you, we're going to kind of take an initial judgment as to what's likely going to be the best fit based on the size of your organization. If you're between 100 and 1,000 employees, or even 100 under 100 employees, single IT person, Trackit up to typically 10, 15, 20 technicians, and then there's a lot of there's a lot of overlap between Trackit and Footprints and RemedyForce. Footprints is our on-premise solution. Trackit is solely and exclusively an on-premise solution. It is not software as a service. It is a perpetual license. So when you purchase it, you own it. Whether you stay on support or not, it's yours. Obviously, we'd like you to remain on support, but it's not required because it's a perpetual license. RemedyForce is software as a service. It is cloud-based. Remedy is the big dog in the family. That is multiple thousands of employees. Think General Electric, Delta Airlines, organizations like that are really large. The size does not really determine the application. It's really the complexity of your needs. We do have a lot of very large customers that are using Trackit and are happy. They want a simple process. They don't really want to have consulting required when they implement and or when they make a change. Common IT challenges, and the reason that you're probably looking at an application, particularly if you don't have one at all, or if you're not happy with the one that you're utilizing today, work is falling through the cracks, no centralized knowledge, problems with the current ticketing system or no ticketing system, no visibility into who, what, where is connected to the network. You have complex manual processes to assess and update PCs. You have pressure to keep service levels and costs down. Always keeping costs down. IT very infrequently gets any love and gets any resources in terms of money and or people. And those are both huge challenges. Trackit, at the core of Trackit, is designed to be easy and simple and quick to implement and configure and set up and get running. It's not going to require more consulting when you go in to make changes. It's going to be very quick. You're not going to have a full-time Trackit admin. That won't be a thing, particularly. Help desk automation, as much as possible. You want to automate. You want to capture your knowledge so that it's not lost if you have turnover, and so that it's easy to pass that knowledge on to your end users via self-service web, presuming you're going to utilize that. That's a little screenshot of self-service web there. And asset management integrated into the platform. Nice way to capture hardware, software detail on machines. potentially do things like remote control, remote connect to a machine to help troubleshoot, and other advanced features, potentially like patch management, software deployment, compliance management, things like that, which I'll talk about a little bit more down the road as well. Why track it? I'm not going to go through the purely marketing centric stuff too much here. It's good. We've been around for over 20 years. We do consistently get good customer satisfaction ratings. It's a very nice, compact, simple, integrated IT package for service management and for asset management. Functionality. Incident management, change management, knowledge management, purchasing, inventory management with BCM, which is BMC client management. It's an integration. The old Trackit 11X and earlier was a proprietary inventory and remote control system. The new Trackit is an integration of BMC client management and Trackit. BMC client management is also available as a standalone application. It is also integrated now into Trackit and has been for years integrated into Footprints and is now integrated into Remedy and Remedy4. So it is the be-all, end-all asset management application that is integrated into all of our IT service management solutions. Trackit includes dashboards and reporting, self-service, barcoding is an option, mobile app for technicians. Any technician has rights to the full web access or to mobile access via an app available on iOS and on Android. There are business rules, there are APIs, and there is a web API. The forms are configurable. Service level agreements and business rules are very configurable. You can get really granular. You can stay really simple. Default configuration is focused on help desk. From an IT perspective, however, and I always say this comes up a lot, we have an awful lot of folks that are using Trackit for facilities. That's been going on for a while, facilities teams. And we have folks that have HR and marketing teams that come up a lot. HR, there's an easy crossover, but we also have a lot of marketing departments that have a lot of high production jobs that they do and requests, and it's an easy way to track that. So the work is completely different, for instance, between facilities and information technology or management information services. However, the workflows are the same. You have somebody making a request or reporting a problem. You want to log when that request or problem report came in. You want to be able to track it. You want your technicians that are responding to that to be accountable from a time perspective. You want to be able to track SLAs. And when it's all said and done, after a month, after a quarter, after a year, you want to be able to get metrics and find out what happened. The idea is ultimately to move towards a more proactive and from less of an reactive perspective on it. So these are just some examples. Again, I'm not going to focus too deeply on the slides. More marketing, good stuff customers are saying about us. Client management, earlier, this is what I spoke of. So out of the box with no licensing beyond the licensing that you spend for technicians access, you also get X number of licenses for end users to access the self-service web. That's just to access the web interface if you're an operation where end users are only going to be sending emails or calling, or my favorite, walking up to your desk to report problems and ask for things. Then there's no licensing for that. But you get 50 end user licenses per tech. All right. You're going to install the BCM. When you install Trackit, it'll automatically be checked to install BMC client management. You will want to leave that selected, except for a very narrow set of circumstances. And really, those circumstances are you already have an existing install of BMC client management. And that's really the only reason you would not leave it selected to install. There is no licensing requirement whatsoever, no extra cost to do discovery. Discovery is going to give you bare bones basic information on your assets that are out there. Anything that responds to a ping. Now, from a PC type device or Mac or Linux or what have you, we're going to collect very basic information, computer host name, IP address, MAC address, and operating system version. But that's free with Discovery, so you should always install BCM at a minimum to do that. Licensed items include inventory. That allows you to go out and collect hardware, software data on the machines that are out there. Remote management, i.e. remote control, allows you to remote connect to a machine. Deployment, that's pushing applications or even entire operating systems out to bare metal machines via Pixie Boot. Patch management, pretty straightforward. Compliance management, lots of pre-configured SCAP stuff out there. I don't know a whole lot about that. I'm not the expert for BCM, but it is integrated. These are all options. They're modular, so it's designed to cost you money only if it's something that you wish and desire to purchase and that's going to be useful for you. Then your account manager can get you a quote on any of these individual elements. Most of them are going to be, about half of it is going to be configured within Trackit. If you're only doing hardware software data collection and remote control, you have no need to go into the actual BCM console to do any of the configuration. It's all in Trackit and it's all very simple. Once you get into deployment management, creating packages and patches and compliance management, you're going to get a little bit more complex, but that is what it is there. So let's take a deeper look at some specifics for Trackit. Again, I'm not going to go through all these slides independently. It does have help desk, change management, purchasing, form customization, meaning your ticket forms can look different for one group versus another group. I talked about an IT team, a facilities team, maybe multiple teams in IT, maybe a customer service team, maybe HR. You can have a simplified form for facilities and customer service. You could have a very specific form with custom fields on it for your HR group. You can have a different complex form for a development or a systems group, and then yet again a fairly simplified ticket form for your basic frontline help desk, desktop support folks. Business rules and SLAs for automation, email conversation management, so any emails that go out either automatically or manually from a ticket, end users can simply reply to those emails and those replies update the ticket. Global search, new build of Trackit leverages full SQL search indexing on the SQL backend, i.e. Trackit has a SQL Server backend, is in Microsoft SQL Server. Dashboards, multi-byte language support, think Asian languages. Ordering of assignments, that's specifically a change from the old version of Trackit. You could have assignments or child tickets, but they would not kick off any certain order if you had a dozen of them on a ticket for a fairly complex process. They kicked off all at once. You can order those in a logical fashion in the new build. Trackit does include a web service API. We do have mobile. We do have support for multiple departments in the form of groups. You could theoretically do that in a previous build of Trackit, but you had to employ what I like to describe as a highly technical term, shenanigans. You had to employ shenanigans to get there. Less shenanigans, more streamlined and obvious, better segregation between different groups in Trackit. Barcode is another option. Particularly if you do a physical inventory and you want to go out and capture and match up what's actually going on out there in the wild with your electronic data that's been collected. Endpoint management, as I just talked about with BMC client management, remote control, patch management, software deployment compliance, which we talked about. And then there's some dashboards there for you. It is affordable and easy to use. It's at a low price point overall. It's very much modular based on the number of technicians, the number of end users, the number of assets you wish to collect data on. If you want to use in the advanced BCM issues, it allows you to organize your ticketing. It allows you to document solutions, and you build solutions. Solutions is Trackit speak for knowledge base. You could build those directly from tickets, from the notes in the tickets. And again, the oft-mentioned complete endpoint management. You have dashboards with drill downs. You have technician groups to segregate data between different teams. You can customize forms and create a very specific layout and create business rules to create automation behind tickets that come in, either via email or via the self-service web portal for end users to use. Multiple stage change requests, so you can get very granular. At the heart of change management in Trackit is an approval workflow system. It's often used for share access requests where you want to notify and get sign-off or approval from the share owners before you provide access to a share. It's often put behind purchasing processes where somebody is going to request to purchase something. We take a look at their department, which we'll know because you'll import your end user from Active Directory, probably along with their department, their location, their phone number, their email address. We can take their department and the fact that they requested to purchase something and automatically match that up with their chain of command so that you can send an approval workflow so that the technician can just sit back and make sure that he or she gets approvals for that purchase request before it's done. This is all out of the box with Trackit configuration. This replaces the old administration console in the old version of Trackit. It's actually simpler. You can get more granular and more complex in your workflow rules and similar, but it's easier to get there. So we've really simplified that. It's in more of a grid layout. You see the little red thing there by email configuration. That means there's something left for you to do there versus the ones that are in green. These are essential setup items that are all good, A-OK. We have support for multiple email. Again, old build with Trackit, you can kind of do that, but you needed to put some shenanigans behind it. It's much simpler now. Just set up any number of email addresses you want. That's also a great way to create some workflow for different emails for different processes if you're going to use Trackit for multiple groups. Facilities at helpdesk or facilities at domain.com would go to your facilities team. Helpdesk at domain.com would go to your IT team. Stuff like that. SLAs allow you to create time-based triggers to automatically send notifications for warnings to technicians and managers that the ticket is overdue or approaching overdue, automated notifications to end users when the ticket is created and logged, when a ticket is closed, manual notifications, directory importer. Trackit across the board supports multiple Active Directories now. The old version of Trackit, you could force it in some situations, but it didn't really work well. Trackit is very much multi-domain friendly, and in fact, there's a lot of the stuff that you may want or need to do that you can actually do over the internet a lot of years now as well, including remote control, collecting inventory data. If you're getting into the advanced features like patch management, you can do all that stuff securely tunneled over the internet without the need for VPN. It's just a matter of setting up a relay agent. Again, not going to dig too deep into the weeds, but that is available to you. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head. Knowledge management, as I mentioned, built-in report writer. We used to use Crystal Report Writer. I was not the biggest fan of Crystal Report Writer in the past. I thought it was a little clumsy, involved, complex, absurdly so in some cases. It is now a built-in report designer. A lot of the mundane, tedious stuff that you needed to do in Crystal, you don't need to do in Trackit because it's our data. It's not just some data that Crystal happens to be working with. You don't have to link fields and tables when you want to bring another table in. You don't have to worry about the DSN. It's our data. We know it. We know where it is. You can also very quickly build reports directly from any of the grid views. Grid views in Trackit are basically lists. If you're in help desk, it's a list of tickets. If you're in inventory, it's a list of assets. Integrated endpoint management. I didn't realize this came up so often in the slides. An important point here that I may otherwise have forgot to bring up. There's a single agent to manage all this. So to whatever degree you're going to use the BMC client management integration, shorthand BCM, it's a single agent that is going to do all of the things. All right. So if you want to collect hardware software data from machines, the agent is going to be deployed to do that. Basically in Trackit, it's a matter of configuring the credentials for it and saying, yes, I want to install this when you discover things. If it can run an agent, put an agent on it. That will allow you, through that same single agent, to do remote control, patch management, compliance management, software deployment, if you want those features. But you don't have to have multiple agents for that. Let's see, native mobile apps, Android and iOS support for the apps. There's an app for each. There's an app for that. Tickets, barcoding, and search are available on mobile, and I'll show that a bit, time permitting. REST APIs for integrations with other applications, anything else that has a web API. You can push data from Trackit, pull data from the other, vice versa. You can update, create, so that's very cool. If you have the programmer talent on staff, app dev folks, they can do that. That's perfectly fine. We have a Swagger interface that is helpful, and that's what this little screenshot here is from. It gives you examples and samples of the workflow and such. If you don't have folks in-house that you believe have the skill set to work with this, let us know, and we can get you in touch with one or more consultants that we have that do that sort of work. Other available resources. I'm going to touch on these throughout, and I'm going to come back to this at the end. I will bring this back up, but I'm going to bounce out for now. And there we go. Now I'm bounced out. So now we're going to show Trackit. Trackit does include and have integrated Windows authentication. I do not have that enabled in my environment for a number of reasons, mostly lack of time, and my AD is a little on the flaky side at the moment. Still up and running, just not as communicative as I would like it. I'm pretty busy, and it's a slow haul for me. It's been probably 17 years since I actually had system administrator in my job title. So this is the Trackit technician interface. If you have a technician that is a member of a single group and you're using single sign-on, which I presume you would be doing, they're not even going to get a prompt. If you have a technician that is a member of multiple groups, like the administrator, like me, they will see those groups in the drop-down, and I can pick and choose where I'm going to log in. In this case, I'm just going to log in as a technician, and I will bounce back to this quite a bit. I think I left off in dashboards, so that's what's going to put me back in. It says dashboards. If you're familiar with the old version of Trackit, dashboards were not really all that useful necessarily. There were only 2 of them. Now you can have as many as you want. The interface was designed to be very clean. We kind of trended away from the garish colors and the buttons all over the place and went with a very clean overall look. All right. Click the plus here to add a new panel. You see the little pop-up, add new panel, to add another dashboard. I have 5. You can have 2 or 15 or 40 if you want. 40 is probably overkill, but you can do it. You have a single add new button to add new things. All of those things are things you can add. Consolidated search up here at the top. This will be all over Trackit. Navigation is up here in the top left. When you first start, you're going to get a getting started page here, which is going to kind of take you through the basics of navigation through the product. And it'll be pretty different from the old version. I'm running mine in Chrome. It will also work, and I have tested it in Firefox, Opera, Safari, Internet Explorer, and Edge. Hopefully I didn't leave out any of the common ones there. There are others I've not tested in a while, and they pretty much never come up. Folks aren't using them because they're too weird. These dashboards, again, as I mentioned, they have drill down now. So if I want to see these tickets that are assigned to the administrator here, I can just double click in there, and then I get to those tickets, and then I can double click on any individual ticket from here to get into the ticket details there. Navigation is top left here, hamburger menu. Here's your individual modules. Here's the help desk module. This is your first look at a grid view. Again, a grid is a list. This is a list of tickets. This specifically is a custom all tickets view. The views you have out of the box with Trackit, there's a lot of stuff out of the box, are the ones here between all assignments and tickets due today. All right. Then you can tweak these to your heart's content and save them. So you can come in and you can change the order of anything here. If I want status over here in the far left, well, first off, I can click status, and it's gonna sort ascending or descending by status there. If I want status over here on the left, I just drag it over to the left, and there you go. If I want to change the columns around on the grid view, I just click that link there, the little grid-looking link up at the top left, to the right of the all tickets view there. Any field in a ticket can be added as a column of the grid view, and then you can create a filter on those fields in the grid view. So right now I have a grid view with 67 tickets in it. If I wanted to narrow this down to just the tickets that are assigned to the system administration group, I would just go assign the group equals. I could also do contains if I had a bunch of groups. I'm going to keep it simple and do equals here, and system administration. Then it'll quickly narrow me down from the 67 tickets, assuming I use and correctly there, to 46 tickets. All right. You can group these tickets if I want these grouped by priority. There you go. I can group them by priority, and then we see no priority there, critical priority, 5. 1 high priority, 8 medium priority, 26 low priority, and 5 very low priority tickets. This allows me a quick look at overview at what's going on with the tickets, and I can export and print or save directly from here. So if this is a view I'm going to use frequently, I come in here and save the view, give it a new name, make it my own personal view, or make it public and share it with my fellow technicians there. Public view, just need to give it a name. Export, I probably wouldn't want to export from a grouping, so I will ungroup. Nope. I will ungroup. There we go. And I can come in here and I can export the CSV or HTML. You also can have a preview pane on here if you want. That allows you a quick way to peek into a ticket to see what's going on without the need to fully open the ticket in the view. And I usually leave this little guy off there. You have some controls up here at the top. You want to auto refresh your grid view or turn that off? Do you want to sign a ticket, or do you want to sign potentially a group of tickets here to a specific group or to an individual technician or to yourself? Do you want to clear the assignments and leave them unassigned? Do you want to change the status of your group of tickets en masse? Maybe you want to close them en masse, so you can put them to a closed status there. Log that as a ticket resolution, put in a common resolution. And then if you have automated notifications via business rules or service level agreements to automatically send emails to end users, and you uncheck this box, you can have the note that you put in here automatically included in a message to all of the people affected, all of the requesters or end users, and all the tickets that you just closed. You could also put it to an on-hold status or a pause status or in progress or whatever it is that you want to do there. You can copy tickets up here. This is a nice way to duplicate tickets if you have an issue affecting multiple people. Copy the basics of that tickets. Of course, you have delete there. More actions over here. If I go over to asset management, and I'm going to abandon changes there, so we'll say, okay, this is your list of assets. Change management solutions here. All right, solutions can be available to end users, public, or they can be hidden from end users, and that would be via the self-service interface. For instance, anything under computer health and security I have hidden because this is not typically the type of things that you want end users freelancing on to try to resolve their own issue. Configuration, I spend an awful lot of time here, and this is going to be a good primer for me to talk about the different ways you can get tickets into Trackit. Almost everybody is using some form of email automation at this point. That's definitely still the number one. Everybody wants or should want to get as many people as possible using the self-service web interface, because you're never going to get more automation than via those means. But you do have multiple emails you can set up here. Here are mine. It's really straightforward. I use Google Apps, so it's Gmail for me. It would be, I think, Outlook.office365.com if you're using Office 365, and your internal Exchange if you're using internal Exchange there. Pretty straightforward to set up there. You can do a quick test here. Hopefully mine works. It does. I have a lot of email out in that one. Outbound email here. So that's typical. That's still number one. And you've always got phone calls, and you know, with a phone call, you can always that's your add new, create ticket there, or walk up. Another one of my favorites. Self-service web is here. Again, using integrated Windows authentication, which is really easy to do. Just turn it on, import your users from Active Directory, give them a page here. Their page is going to be a little bit different address. It's going to be server name, Trackit, self-service/login, not account/login there. Again, it's turned off in my build. I'm going to do a manual login to it. Single sign-on, integrated authentication. Your users are going to click the magic link, you get them. If it's the first time they've ever used any AD auth via the browser that you're using, whichever browser it may be, typically they're all going to do the same thing. You're going to get a Windows authentication prompt from the browser, put that in there, save credentials. Often it's a checkbox. Sometimes it's automatic. It depends on the browser and the version of the browser. And that's going to put them magically on this home page. From here, ideally, you can convey some information right off the top. Announcements are a good way to do that. Upcoming server outages, reminders of that. Hey, this is going to be down from 3 to 4 for maintenance. Please keep that in mind. Use your Abacus in the meantime, because the accounting server is going to be down. Or if something's unexpectedly down, knock on wood, your Exchange server goes down. Hey, yep, sorry about that. We're aware of it. We're working diligently to get it back up and running. Here's our expectations for uptime. A lot of the stuff you're going to do in IT is going to tend to be things that are just simple questions and simple answers. They're often repetitive. Announcements are a good way to mitigate that. Another way to mitigate that is search for solutions. To me, you're going to get more mileage out of the easy ones than out of the hard ones by far. Excel, I got caps lock on, look at that. Excel print area, all right? How do I set the print area in Excel, all right? That's the type of question that you may get from the same person multiple times over the period of a year. Um, you may have sent it via email, but I can't find anything in my own email, so I can't necessarily blame people too much if they can't find it or they printed it and they lost it, whatever the case may be. But they know they can come here and get that simple answer, and they don't have to worry about where it is. It's just always here with a simple search. They can also provide feedback and rating, which is going to tie into the way that it sorts their results. You can do an all words or any word search here. They can even come in here and they can browse solutions. So if I want to see all the PowerPoint solutions, boom, I can do there. You can embed pictures, and I think I have a few that have videos in them as well. So that works real well. Redundant controls. So from home, we have create your ticket here as well as here, solutions here and here, my tickets here and here to view. Creating a ticket, you can determine which fields are on this form and which fields are required and which are not. Summary and note are pretty straightforward. I love leaving callback number here. Again, this will be typically data that you're going to bring in when you import the user from Active Directory. All right, along with department location and anything else you decide, so you can fine tune what's coming in for the user from Active Directory. I like to leave it here in case it's incorrect. User can override it, or they can add an additional number like a mobile number here. Priority is on this form by default. That is the very definition of insanity to me, to leave priority here. I don't know a whole lot of people, myself included, that have discipline. If I have the option to select critical for every ticket I put in, I'm going to do it. I'm fairly shameless myself. So I pull that off. You don't require that for automation. You can do that purely via category. For instance, a help desk question about a desktop app, that's probably going to be fairly low priority. A desktop problem regarding hardware or printing or a desktop app, that might be greater urgency if somebody's going to put in that there's an email outage or an internet outage. I want that to have a more critical, more tight SLA, more hyperactive email notifications, maybe automated escalation after a period of time. Facilities, these are also going to serve not only setting SLAs, but triggering business rules to assign to one group or one individual technician versus another. Plumbing problem goes to facilities, systems ticket goes to system administration, facilities or help desk tickets go to the help desk or desktop support group. Human resources, new hire requests, those are potentially going to go to an HR group if you're going to do that. Customer service. So based on the categories that you create. File attachments are optional. If you want to emulate an ITIL-based workflow in Trackit, you can do that. Trackit is not designed to be ITIL out of the box. It's not really designed with that at all in mind, but the business rules and SLAs are flexible enough where you can pretty much reproduce that. I kind of have a hybrid approach here. This field here, number of people impact, it should be impacted, but I move fast during these demos a lot, so when I did this a few days ago, anyway. So only me or everybody, all right? You could use this to tie into whatever the category is, or you could literally put a field on here called urgency, and you could have urgency and impact and do a pure ITIL process and drive your SLAs and your business rules based on that. If you don't have a need or desire to do that, you don't have to do that. There's not a lot of have to in Trackit. Another custom field I've added here in mind, I've made required. Rather than being blank by default, this one defaults to NA because it's not going to apply to anything. This is really only going to apply in my pretend world here. If maybe somebody wants to buy a MacBook, and then I want them to come down here and say, yes, it's over $1,000. So that's going to trigger a particular approval process potentially versus something that's under $1,000, maybe a different approval process. You can create templates with pre-configured notes and configurations on tickets, and you can make a subset of those available to the end users, which they then select through comment requests. Users can view their existing tickets here. They can come in, and there is a nice conversational view in here. If you decide to make additional fields beyond the defaults available to them here, they can just click on more details and see that. They can cancel their own ticket. Hey, never mind, I figured it out. They can add additional notes. Hey, what's going on with this ticket? Of course, they can always reply to any automated or manual email that they've received as well. New in this version of Trackit is the ability for certain users, if you want, to provide them access to tickets beyond their own personal tickets. Self-service web in Trackit has traditionally been a one-on-one relationship between that user and only that user's tickets specifically. We've had requests over the years for instance, my director of accounting really wants to have a grip on the tickets that his team has. They use an awful lot of complex applications. There's problems reported, and I'm the director of accounting. I want to be able to see all the tickets for my people. You can now provide that level of access, provide department level access. If you are an organization that has multiple locations and you have location or site managers, you might do location level access, or you can do both. And that's just for a subset of users. The default is going to be just a user's personal ticket. So you go in there, you're going to see just a little subtle change over here. You're going to have the user for that particular ticket listed over here on the right side. If you're using change management and you have a more complex change process where it's not reasonable to convey the information via email, if it's something like simple like an accounting share access request or a request to purchase a MacBook, you can probably convey enough information pretty simply via email, and all the approver has to do is click approve and then send, or reject and then send, and that's it. They don't even have to type any additional words in the actual email. Just approve, click the send button, done. All right. If it's something more complex, like you're going to use Trackit for project management, you have an approval workflow, this gives them the ability to come in here and read that conversational view from here, and potentially look at all the notes on the ticket by clicking the link ticket there, and then they can see everything that's going on that ticket, depending on, again, what level of detail you give them here. And that's all stuff that's configurable in Trackit. And then finally, if you're going to use self-service web as a centralized resource, you have some nice custom links over here on the left side. So again, if you have any questions on self-service or email automation or anything else along the way, post those in the chat facility, bottom right-hand side of WebEx. If you happen to be after the fact listening to this in a recording, don't do that because you're listening to a recording. That said, you can always get with your account manager and ask the question, or get with tech support. I'll talk about contact information at the end and after the fact as well. Your configuration, all right? It's broken down into sections. Application settings is application basics. Groups, these will be groups and would create your segregation within Trackit. Technicians are pretty straightforward. In here, you're going to find, which group is a technician assigned to, what are the group basics, is this particular technician using a named license or not? The or not is a concurrent license. What groups are they a member of? You want to add them to different groups or remove them from a group. Again, custom fields abound throughout Trackit, and there's some there. Your permissions are here. Again, fairly straightforward. If they're a system admin, that's straightforward. Just click that and they get everything. Otherwise, you can give them different rights in different groups. And you can do that from a simple or from an advanced permissions perspective where you get pretty granular there. Of course, getting users into Trackit and technicians is really easy. That's directory importer here. Ultimately, your selection and licensing is going to have you browse out to your OUs and security groups that contain your users or your technicians. You're going to have the option to customize what you're bringing over from AD. On the left is the fields in Trackit. On the right is the AD attributes. It's all drop down, click. It's all fairly straightforward. Multiple domains, again, work really well. I have two set up in mind, the Folkvanger and the Valhalla domains there. Just put in credentials for each. Same with inventory. A lot of these are really simple. User authentication, Windows, yes or no, check the boxes. Really easy. Email, you have your monitor and email filters and scheduled reports, which you can do, and scheduled tickets for preventative maintenance you can do. Lookups or lists, list of priorities. 1 through 5 are included out of the box. If you don't like them, you can delete them and start over. If you don't like the numbers, you can take the numbers off. If you want to replace all of them with red, yellow, blue, green, you can do that. Your priorities are going to have your key times, your milestones here. This ties into SLAs as well. What's the expected due duration? What's the expected fixed duration? What's the expected response duration? What work schedule? You can have multiple work schedules in Trackit. You can work with multiple time zones in Trackit. If you're a global organization or have locations spread across the U.S., you're geographically diverse, you can add any additional priorities that you want there. Categories, this is the engine of Trackit from a help desk perspective. This is where you're going to put all your brain power. What do you do? How do you do it? When you think about these, think about the fact that this is going to create the differentiation on reports. This is going to be the basis for that. This is potentially going to be the basis for what team a ticket goes to automatically based on your business rule setup, what the SLA for a given ticket is. And then also think about the fact that you're going to make some of these available to your end users, and some of these you won't. And particularly, at least the ones that you are going to make available to the end users, you want to keep them simple enough so that they're going to be able to figure out how to categorize their tickets correctly. Status is pretty straightforward, open and close included out of the box. You can have as many others as you want. They can automatically stop the clock or not. There's a lot of redundancy in the way things work. You can also automatically assign particular categories to individual technicians. So purchasing is included in Trackit. If you have that, you'll come in here, self-service configuration. This is what your end users are going to see on the home page. These are the fields that they're going to see, and they're required or not when they're creating a ticket. These are the fields that they'll see when they're viewing a ticket. Those custom links, again, nice way to put bouncing off points to other IT resources in there. This is where the custom links go. Form definitions and the ability to customize what a ticket form looks like, or an asset form, or a purchase order form. That's pretty diverse. Just bring up that ticket form. Decide what you want on this form, decide what you don't want on this form. It's designed to be fairly simple, but you can simplify further. If you don't use alternate emails, highlight that, poof, get rid of it, gone. You don't use alternate phone, get rid of that, just boom, gone, just like that. You don't really have extensions, great, put in the extension field there, bam, it's gone. Then you can consolidate, you can move this up, I can move this up. Move these up, and maybe what I want to do now is, hey, now I can make some additional space for additional information. That's pretty cool here. Maybe I do have some other stuff I want to add in here. Maybe I want to add another set of custom fields that I can use. So I can drag another box in here, throw that on my form, come in here. I could make that dark, boom, and then it's going to be a dark box like the one in the top left there. And then I can come in and I can add, let's say I want a custom date that I'm going to use. And again, we would want to make that one light so that I can see it. So we'll change that to light. I could decide that I want to make it, I don't know why you'd make it a read-only field. You can do that, or hidden. You can make it a required field, or you could make it a required and closed field. I could drag any other number of other things on here as well. Change that from dark to light there, and this is how you build. Start with removing and simplifying, then come in here and you can change this to, this could be the some date field, and this could be the bunch of stuff field. Now it's the bunch of stuff field. Very easy to customize, and again, you can have different forms and different layouts for different groups within Trackit. That's pretty much point and click. All right. Asset management, I'm going to come back to last. SLAs and business rules. These trigger things. For instance, facilities email. Email comes in. All right. New email received. That is the what? What happens? New emails received. Now what? These rules are going to apply. Oh, okay. If it is sent to the facilities email address, what actions am I going to take? Well, I'm going to create a ticket, obviously. And part of that ticket is I'm going to assign it to the facilities group, and I'm going to categorize it as a facilities ticket. So this is how you get automation behind email, all right? And you're going to send a notification more than likely to whoever you want. You're going to have whatever data you want in it, and you can pull any field out of the ticket to be reinserted into the subject line or the body as a variable, so you can convey specific information based on the specific ticket. SLAs are very similar to business rules. Biggest difference here is that they are not straightforward if this, then that rules. They're going to be tied to a priority, which in turn is going to tie in the timing. Same from a criteria perspective, and you have a whole slew of different criteria. If you happen to be an old 11x and earlier Trackit user, you may recall that you have skill routing policies, event policies, email monitor policies. Now it's just business rules and SLAs. You had 7 things that you could use to drive automation in the previous build of Trackit. Now I think you have like 40. And it's and/or, so you can get much more granular in here, or keep it very simple. For instance, the single SLA replaces, what is it? It's 12 policies in the old build of Trackit. This replaces 5 event policies, 5 skill routing policies, and 2 email monitor policies in this single policy. And this, the automation is going to happen on a particular time trigger. And it could be available time before or elapsed time since. In my case, available time before expected due date. If we hit 30 minutes prior to due date, I want to do some stuff. And this is the stuff I want to do, actions. I want to send a notification. This is different verbiage, so it's a little simpler, just including a few things. I'm including multiple people in a single notification. I'm keeping it simple, also a little bit different from the old build of Trackit. You had to configure a separate notification for end user, technician assigned group, and escalation pointer manager. And I'm doing an update. This is doing an escalation right there. I'm just reassigning it back to the administrator, and I'm resetting the status automatically to open. All right. So everything in Trackit is point and click. Eventually, I'm going to come back here to asset management. But before I do that, if you look at all, if you go up to the all node here, this is a combination of all the nodes from all of the different panels. This is it. This is all of Trackit configuration. This is all you have to do. All right. The areas that are in green here mean they're good. If I had something wrong with email, if I needed to come in and configure it, it would be red. Same with anything else in here. When there's a drop down, it's going to be 3 items in the drop down, tops, and typically it's going to be 2. And again, like the windows off, a lot of these are just really simple. Inventory, asset management is here. All right, BMC client management configuration. This is a part of Trackit you will probably never go into. If you have some sort of a problem or some really oddball reason to make a change, you'll come in here, but for the most part, that'll be automated. You won't need to do anything there. Asset synchronization, the only thing really to do here is to set asset owner automatically. This is particularly helpful if you're going to license for inventory, pull hardware software data, and it will automatically associate the user to the machine based on the information you brought in from AD in conjunction with the information we're going to capture on the machine, namely the last logged on user from the Windows registry. If you're doing a manual sync at 5 a.m. every day, which kind of makes sense, and you know you did something to machines at 10 and it's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, somebody's reporting a problem, you can do an immediate up-to-date sync to get all the records updated from there, and that's the only real reason you go back in there on a regular basis. Agent configuration, you're listing credentials here. All right, so multiple domains have multiple sets of domain credentials. Localized credentials on Macs or Linux machines or whatever, put those in here as well. Click the box to automatically install the agent on discovered devices. That agent is going to do all of the things, whatever those things are that you're going to license for that you want to do. Discovery, this is the meat of the process here. Put in your IP ranges here. You can exclude within a range. You can have as many ranges as you want here. You can set your schedule there. These are the things that we can capture detail information on. Windows, Unix, Linux, Mac, VMware, vSphere, or Hyper-V. Printers, routers, switches, they don't run a proper OS or anything else like that. Internet of Things, IoT. If you have a refrigerator that has an IP, if it responds to ping, we'll discover it, but it won't install an agent. But if it has SNMP enabled, we'll capture that SNMP information. These other things we can put an agent on and or collect the hardware software details. Again, they could also be used from patch management, compliance management, software deployment, depending on how you want to use a license for the BMC client management aspect. For the most part, you won't go into the BMC client management console, which I'm not going to show today because I feel like I'm already potentially running slightly long. But that's for the advanced features. The basics are going to be via here. Let's see. I want to come back over here. I want to dive into a ticket real quick, and we're going to go into my favorite demonstration ticket here. This is my ticket layout, which is a little bit different from the defaults. I've stuck some additional stuff up here, including this field here. I've slimmed this down a little bit. I've tweaked it a little bit. I have a custom field over here that drives my procurement and change management process. I have a user associated here. When I associate a user, I automatically get their email, phone, department location. If they're associated to an asset, I will automatically get the asset here. Because I have the asset here, I can, within the ticket, without the need to leave the ticket, I can get the details on that asset. I can see the hardware detail. I can see the software detail. There is a way to do an agentless audit, but you don't get quite as much information. It doesn't come up much anymore, but it's still available. You don't get a full dry scan, but you will get the admin program stuff because that's simple registry read. You won't get the security breakout information. Financial information, this is largely manual. This is here so that you can take a look at that as well from a ticket. If you're going to license for remote control and you want to remote connect your machine, click remote control there. If you're running Chrome and it doesn't like the fact that you didn't set it up via SSL, click that additional couple of extra buttons, and it puts you out on the desktop of that machine. And in your case, you're going to be looking at my Trackit server, the one that's actually hosting this. I'm checking for updates here apparently. Let's minimize that, get that out of the way. Let's get this annoying thing out of the way. So you're sharing the instance with the end user, so it is a session-based remote. If you have a user on the phone and you want to connect in, you're both looking at the same thing. If they do something, you see it. If you do something, they see it, all right? So it's shared. Hey, could you go through the steps that you did to get that crazy error you reported? And then you can tell them, all right, now sit on your hands for a minute. Let me show you what you should do instead. If you're going to be doing anything like installing things, a lot of people ask very frequently, am I going to see elevated credentials prompt? Am I going to be able to see and interact with a UAC prompt? Yes, you will. It's session-based. If nobody's logged on, you'll be prompted to log in, and then it's your session. But most often, at least from a break fix perspective, you're going to be connecting directly to a user's specific session. I'm going to bounce out of that. Well, we're done there. Your notes are down here at the bottom. Very easy to convert any of these to solutions. Just click Create Solution there. Put you into a solution. You can make it private or public. Add whatever you want in here. Adding notes is just a matter of clicking Add New down here. Editing an existing note is clicking here. As you see, you have a number of controls to insert and whatnot here. Put screenshots, copy and paste screenshots in. Do you want the user to be able to see it in self-service web or not? Or if you're automatically including notes, do you want to keep that note hidden in email even though it would normally go out? Do you want to manually send an email, which is kind of my preference, but it's really a preferential thing. I can manually send an email here. Hey, try rebooting and let me know. Remote control and asset search solutions here. It takes whatever is in your subject line and puts it in there. Or I could do Excel, print area here, look for all words, do a search, and that's the same solution. And I can link it to the ticket automatically, and I can automatically add a note there, and I would want to make it a resolution note in this particular case. Time tracking is automatic by default. You could also come in here and override, and hey, I was away from my desk for a bit, and I just did a quick note when I came back, so really this wasn't 3 minutes of work, it was 15. So hybrid approach there. They're all organized down here. You can filter them in different ways. You can look at all notes, just system notes for any automated changes, potentially based on business rules or SLAs, or you can look at all there. If you have a purchasing, a PO related to the ticket, you're using that. You can get out to that PO there. If you have an approval process or change management associated with the ticket, you can get the change request there. And then you can set up automated rules to trigger change management automatically, just like business rules and SLAs and Trackit. Woo, let's see. Really quick. Let's give you a quick look at mobile. I think I have a few minutes to do that. So I'm going to bring in my cool emulator here. And I am going to go and I'm going to see if I can do screen mirroring from my iPhone. I use an iPhone, no problem. It works on Android as well. There's my desktop. We're going to go into Trackit here. We're going to bring that up. And let's see. There we go. We're going to enter a password. For some reason, the emulator doesn't display that I'm entering it, and I'm actually not entirely sure I entered the right password. So let me go back. And it doesn't show it there, but I did enter it, trust me. I'm going to log into System Administration. Again, I can select the group I'm going to log into here. I'm just going to log into System Administration. I don't believe I have any tickets assigned to me. It puts you in My Open Tickets by default, but I can very quickly move to All Open Tickets there. Here, I can scroll through those. I can bring up a ticket here. I can go into full edit mode by clicking this little pencil icon at the top right. I can just add a note or an assignment quickly by using these links here. I can change my views here. If I'm using this for asset management, I can scan an asset, which is literally scanning the barcode on an asset to bring the asset details. If I'm using it to add assets, I can click the Create Asset on the right side there, and then I can enter this data manually. If I'm going to use barcoding in particular, I can click this little icon to the right of Asset Tag here, boom, and it's going to bring up my camera phone. Hey, you're looking at my messy desktop, and I always like to have a water bottle in front of me here to scan. You can scan the serial number. You don't necessarily have to have company asset tags on your things. If it's something where you don't want to do an asset tag, both fields do have to be populated, but just scan the serial number twice. The opposite is often the case as well. We do have folks that track things that, particularly non-IT assets, they don't necessarily have a serial number like furniture. If you want to do that, if you really want to dig into inventory, particularly if you have, again, non-IT teams like facilities. Facilities often have air conditioning units because, like, you might want to know how many times an issue has been reported against a given printer or server. They want to know how many issues and how many problems and how much money they put into trying to keep an air conditioning unit up and running. Anyway, you can scan an asset tag twice or scan a serial number twice. Ideally, you have both, but it's not required. And you can key on asset name, select what type of asset it is, location, and the whole 9 yards there. So that's fairly straightforward there. And I'm going to log out of this guy, and I'm going to move this out of the way because we're done with that. And let's see what. Oh, I've not shown any of these. Okay, if you are, I brought these up on purpose here. If you're migrating from an older version of Trackit, this article is going to be helpful. If you don't know how to get to any of this stuff, definitely let me or anybody else know. In fact, I'm going to stick my name into if I can get it. Well, no, I'll do it later. But I'll put my email address in there. It's Mike_Johnson@bmc.com. It's fairly straightforward. Let me know any questions you have. If you want a copy of the slideshow, I can get you that as well, and the recording when eventually compiles it is available. I like on the migration, I like to skip by all the details and go down to the bottom. This is important data that's not migrated if you're on a previous version of Trackit. And it's basically anything that's automation. The automation is different, ergo you have to rebuild it in the new Trackit. Tickets are tickets, assets are assets, users are users, technicians are technicians. Anything that's just data, that all comes over. You could also pick and choose which aspects. So you could bring over tickets and not assets or vice versa. So it'll be a migration wizard. So if you're on a previous build, you're going to download and install the new build of Trackit Clean. Then you're going to download separately the migration utility, and you're going to migrate your data over. All right? Free video training. There are more free videos out there for Trackit than any other previous build ever. System administrator videos. These are setup and configuration stuff. Technicians. These are your day-to-day techs. This is operational type stuff. We even have a video for requesters. Now, to me, if a requester needs a video to figure out how to use self-service web, they're unlikely to use it, but there is a video out there for them. Okay, the roadmap. It's going to list things that were in the previous build of Trackit. Possibly they've not all been migrated into the new code set of Trackit. Current release is here, upcoming release is here, and that's available in public. Communities is a fantastic resource. Here are questions. If they're a question mark, they're open. If they're a green check, they're answered. Light bulbs, these are enhancement requests. These push Trackit, all right? Here's one that doesn't have a whole lot of votes. This one we're doing, it's on the roadmap. This one in here, we're currently reviewing it. This one's going to be on the roadmap. So enhancement requests come through here. Here's documents. Another thing you can do in here that's very cool, join the developer circle. Very simple search up here. Join the developer circle. This gives you insider information. It allows you to get a beta test if you want to do that. Has all the instructions to join that here. You can do that. System requirements for Trackit. Trackit is on-premise. It's going to be installed in your environment. Now, installed in your environment doesn't necessarily mean in your building or the building next to you. It could be Azure. It could be Amazon Web Services or some other co-location service that basically emulates as if it were in your environment. That's perfectly fine. The only thing I've run into with respect to Azure specifically is Microsoft has SQL as a service. We don't work with that. We might at some point, but as of right now, we do not. So it gets installed on a Windows server, and your environment runs on a SQL Server backend. It will run with SQL Express, which is okay if you're smaller. Whether you're smaller or not, if you own SQL Server already, you should absolutely positively use it. SQL Express has a RAM limitation of 1 gig of RAM. A purchased version of SQL does not. That's a big one when you're doing reports or running big processes and didn't track it. It's very small in the grand scheme of things otherwise, so it doesn't come up too often. Here's something that I'll come back to, trackit.trybmc.com. It's on my final slide, I think. This is a nice way for you to come in and take a quick look at Trackit without the need to install anything, either from an end user perspective, tech perspective, or if you want to take a look at Swagger, the little interface for the web API. This allows you to come in. You don't need to have a password. Literally, you just click log in because we have some other shenanigans going on in the back end there. Here is the Swagger interface here. If you're going to do ticket stuff, you want to get a ticket, post a ticket, get assignments or attachments, click here and it will expand that and will give you some example values. That's really boring. Let's go into something that's slightly less boring. Oh, I did not. All right, well, anyway, it expands here and gives you examples, and it's helpful from that perspective. Trackit.com, of course, all right? Trackit.com, boom. This is your good central resource. If you want to download a full version to test in your environment, you click free trial there. Free live webinar, which may be how you got here. This is the free live webinar. Lots of cool links in here to include, ultimately you can get the more information on asset management through here. So asset management, automated with ticket, reports metrics here, come in here. This is pretty cool. Resources up here is a good set of resources. Important links to other areas like the Trackit community, supported platforms, that's your system information. Customer stories from longtime Trackit customers over here. So good stuff there. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pop up my final slide again. Boom. I'm going to bring this up so I have this in my face. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to bring it up. You know what? No, I won't. I'm going to bring this over to the right here, and I'm going to leave this one up. So, oh, come on, right click, go to slide. I thought I could go to this last slide. All right, well, fine, there we go. That's easy enough. Support.trackit.com for support. If you own Trackit, that's where you go. If you don't own Trackit, if you're evaluating, go to your account manager. If your account manager can't answer your question, I will. If you want a one-on-one demo, I also do those. Trackit.com, which I showed you earlier. Trackit.trybmc.com. That's good. That resets every night. It resets back to clean. It has demo data in it. It's really designed for you. I don't have the time or desire to download and install it in my environment to do a deeper test. I just want to poke around to see if I'm cool with the look and feel overall. Trackit.trybmc is your resource there. Again, you're not going to remember all these necessarily while I have this up over here. I am going to put my name and email address here, MikeJohnson@bmc.com. That is now in the chat there. Free video training. That's the free video training I showed you. All the docs, docs.bmc.com, search for Trackit. Everything Trackit you want to know, or any other product within the BMC software family there. And then feature page. I don't know why they put this on the slide. That's too long. But lots of information out there. And again, this is the rambling bit here, and it does not look like I have any questions at this point in time. So here's where I say thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I know how hard it is to get away for an hour plus. I've actually done real help desk work about 10 years prior to coming here. Even though I've been here for 16 years, I still remember what it's like. I'm an old guy, so again, thank you very much for taking the time. If you want anything, if you have any questions at all, of course you have support. You can get with support. You can always also get with me Mike_Johnson@bmc.com. Thank you very much, and you all have a fantastic afternoon. Thanks.